Hey, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Heart of David, guys. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you are in the world, wherever you are in your rooms watching this, or in your vehicles. I think you'll find this quite interesting. I wanted to do a video tonight. It'll be edited maybe even tonight, but I'll have it out sometime tomorrow, which is Wednesday, I think. I'm using Pastor Tom Hughes' channel. I don't think he would mind. I don't think I'm gonna get in trouble for that. And I am not. I found an awesome conversation that I want you guys to hear, and I'm gonna comment through it. Very interesting topics. I'm gonna say, Dave, why are you watching people who believe in the pre-trib rapture? I don't care. I don't care. These are my brothers and sisters still, right? I just can't look at it that way. And sorry, I'm cutting up my food here as I have my dinner. Before I open this up, I want to say a few things. I hear that they're going to... Okay, whether this is true or not, I don't know. The person who developed ChatGPT they're making, underground bunkers for real to hide from whatever is AGI, artificial general intelligence. Now, you could say, well, what is that compared to what it is now with just regular ChatGPT and all the other different kinds? I don't truly know. I have not investigated it, but I know it's like, in a general sense, it's going to be smarter than a human. And it kind of sounds stupid, these things make mistakes. They can do incredible things. They're much smarter than a human, but I think they mean in relation to what it can do, like almost as a person. Like it's going to think for itself. Like, I think you get where I'm getting at, right? Almost like it has a mind of its own. And so, man, ChatGPT, what's the chance of it gonna do this and that Terminator type stuff, right? Skynet and all that. It looks pretty high. It can only get smarter, right? So, doesn't sound stupid, does it? Are they going to release? So they have the power to release it or not. And I don't know, maybe China's the same. Maybe different countries are the same and they just haven't released it into the regular internet. I don't know. These things could change the pressure in your water pipes and in your gas mains and the electricity grid. It goes quite far. These systems are learning all day long, scanning billions and billions of pictures, picking up rhythms and the algorithms of people, and they're studying us. They're studying us. I'm not afraid of any of this. That's not what I'm saying. Zechariah 12:13. That's another reason why I'm putting this up, because you'll hear. What else did I want to say? We are at the end of time. I don't, whether that's 5 years, I don't know. But what I do know is that the sun is changing dramatically with its magnetism and its volcanic activity on the sun, coronal mass ejections, and that affects our Earth. I think it's quite obvious that it's affecting the magma in the earth and the magnetism, all that type of stuff. The New Madrid fault, there's activity there, eh? And that's the one that I believe it was in the 1800s that it made the Mississippi River go backwards. That could be huge. I don't think it's on a subduction zone. It's not. It's just, it's actually a rare type where I just studied geology. I believe this is true, that this one is just, it has nothing to do with volcanic activity or any of that, or subduction zones. Subduction zones make volcanoes and mountains and stuff, but no, this is just stress between like faults and plates and stuff like that. Fault. And when they let go, we're seeing things that are right on the edge of possibly happening. They're discovering things that could change our world. What about this super volcano off the coast? Like, wow. And at the same time, volcanoes are going off in like Indonesia, Japan, and in any case, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's listen to this. I see things happening. It's very exciting to me.
I don't know how you do it, but I just really appreciate you and what you do. And obviously, you would admit it's the Lord through you. But we're going to get to some things because this is exciting. We're going to talk about the $21 trillion we're hearing about for underground cities for people to be able to survive the apocalypse. We're going to go into that. Who are those people? We're going to talk about the NAR, New Apostolic Reformation. What is it? Is it a concern or is it something good? So we're going to find that out too. I do know Ricky and I are on the same page with that. But let's just start off here.
I'm not sure they got into the 21 trillion. I'm not going to play all of this, but I just wanted to say this, that this was on Tucker Carlson, and it was a reputable woman. You can go look for it. It says that 21 trillion of governmental money of the U.S. They believe that this money has gone to building underground cities. And guys, I have no doubt that these cities exist. Not a single shred of doubt. They began them way back with the Soviet era. And they're putting a lot of money into it. And we know what Revelation 6 says. They're going to hide under the rocks. I do believe they're trying to, think of billionaires, right? They want to survive. They have all this money too. But of course they're going to use our money. But I heard there was 171 and they're all connected underground. We know they have the machines that turn and grind and can go very quickly. In any case, I'll just leave it at that. I can't speak to what I haven't seen, right?
This is the elephant in the room. As of right now, as of this recording, we're watching Trump and what's going on with the Mideast. Ricky, I'm looking at things, and so he begins his trip in Saudi Arabia, and I don't think as of right now he's gone to Turkey yet, but that's the next stop. There's talks now. The guy in Syria, the Al-Jalani guy, I can't remember what he changed his name to. Like you, I can't pronounce all these different names, but you're looking going, he's offering Trump, hey, make a Trump Tower in Damascus. You're looking going.
By the way, just quickly say it, you can look back in my videos, look maybe 20 videos back, maybe a bit more. I give a lot of evidence why Donald Trump is the Antichrist.
This stuff is just insane that we're hearing. But Trump's going to get in a plane from Saudi Arabia. He's going to fly to Turkey to meet with, I believe it's Erdogan and Zelensky and maybe even Putin. And he's going to fly right over Israel. And Netanyahu's being left out. All right. So we're looking at these things. By the time this posts, some of these things will have taken place. We'll We'll hear more, but as of right now, I'm looking at this going, what in the world is going on? But with this, how do you see this visit, Trump and Saudi Arabia, aligning with biblical prophecy?
Well, the first thing we got to do, and this is what I always tell our audience, and this is a tough one. I tell them this is like going to the doctor and getting a shot. It's painful. It's a process. Just, close your eyes, grin, and bear it, and it'll be over with quickly. And what I mean by that is you have to take off your political lenses and put on your prophetic lenses. Our audience is geared around Bible prophecy, not on politics. And the problem is people get they get so in love with politics that a politician can do no harm, whether it be on the left or the right, and they see through things through those lenses. So I always keep that in mind, regardless of who's in office, who's in position, and what party they represent. How is this leading us to the end game, which is what the prophets have foretold? Now, being that we're talking about Israel, we know, according to prophecy, number one,
It's here.
that Israel is the centerpiece of Bible prophecy. They are the fig tree. They're the centerpiece that we're told to focus on, not America, not Europe, but Israel. We know.
Now, I know a lot of people are going to have trouble with that, I'm just going to give you my personal belief that the people of Israel are not saved, okay? They're not saved, and they're no better than anyone. But you have to ask yourself this, and this is what's going to talk about Zechariah 12. It's quite evident that no matter what you think about Israel and everything around that, and I don't dislike the people from Israel. I don't dislike either the people from Gaza, except for the extremists. And the land was given to Abraham, right? So I can't argue with that. It appears, yes, that if you hear that saying so many times, God's prophetic time clock, and it probably is. Just what I've learned in my journey is I don't focus so much on Israel. I just don't. I just focus on Jesus Christ. And I think people make that mistake. But for the end times, certainly.
And now this is a painful reality, but according to Zechariah 12, Joel chapter 3, we know that Israel will eventually be divided. Zechariah says that all nations will gather together to try to divide Israel. And then Joel says those same nations that divided the land and divided the people and came against Israel, God himself will actually handpick those nations and bring them down into judgment, into a place where Armageddon will take place. So that war will be actually a judgment that will be brought upon those nations. Why? Because of what they did to my heritage, Israel. They divided the land. Zechariah says they will be broken pieces. So now, keeping that in mind, that's why it's not a shock to me who is in office or who is president. If anything, if they don't, if something goes the way we don't expect it to go with Israel per se, we have to understand prophecy has to be fulfilled. And so everything that's happening right now with Israel, now there's been a lot, and you know this, I'm sure your audience knows this, there's been a lot of speculation and rumors circulating. A lot of publications, even the Jerusalem Post has put out publications saying that there's some contention within Washington and Israel with Trump and Netanyahu, and they're divided on where the prospect of Gaza and this and that. There's a lot of tensions growing. Then there was a rumor that circulated that Trump was going to propose a two-state solution. Now, of course, Mike Huckabee, came out and said that was nonsense and it was false, and Israel.
Do you have any doubt that that is going to happen? That's what prophecy says. You can't measure prophecy when they're all over the place, but it's apparent that they're probably together with end times prophecy. And what is it, Joel 3? For gain. Remember all the type of propaganda we saw with Trump and the gold and the statue and stuff like that. And I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. But I have no doubt that it's going to happen, and that actually gives me great hope that Jesus is coming soon.
And America's relations have been stronger than ever. But like you said,
oh, and Canada, UK, and France speaking up against Israel. I kind of agree. Only in terms of, like, you're killing a lot of people, and there's Christians in there, you know. There's got to be a better way. I know they have to take care of Hamas, but listen, we're in the end times, so you know, have a heart for everyone.
what doesn't look good, that Trump is going to Turkey and he's going to Saudi Arabia and he's going over here, but he's bypassing Israel. So this leaves all of us creating an hypothesis or questions. Why? What's going on? And it almost feeds more into that speculation of, is there really tensions between Netanyahu and Israel? So, brother, it's going to get interesting.
You never know.
As you know, there's a major this was the largest arms deal in history, has just been signed with Saudi Arabia. A lot of people are not happy about that. And like you said, you've got this weird stuff, like this plane that was gifted to him. You've got this guy in Syria that's wanting to,
What deals have already been made? There's things that you and I simply don't know. I believe there's already a plan to split the land. They're just working it out. I believe it because they're talking about it so much that it's quite possible.
Trump Tower here in Damascus, and I'm thinking, well, it don't matter anyway because Damascus is going to become a ruinous heap, so that tower ain't going to stand much longer according to Bible prophecy, right? So it is really weird and it's bizarre, but we have to keep our attention again on Bible prophecy. Where is this leading? Where are we going? And what's the end game? And the reason I tell people that is so you won't get disappointed. Because again, if you've got your eyes on politics or a politician, you're going to get let down.
Ricky, that was so spot on. I love it. You have to put on your biblical prophetic lenses. And listen, I voted for Trump. Right. The alternative was Kamala Harris and Tim, what's his name? What a nightmare. But I look now, listen, I think we have to be honest and go, okay, what does the Bible say? And I'm pretty confident that there's a lot of people that run in the conservative camp, and I know this might really upset some people, but I believe we just need to be honest. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in the conservative camp that are thinking this is great, because a lot of them they don't have the prophetic lens on. They don't really care about Israel. They're thinking, okay, let's bring everything home. America's going to do great economically. This is what we voted for and so forth. And granted, they probably did, but biblically, for us who are biblically minded, even if we voted for Trump, we still have to be honest and say, look, this is interesting. If when it comes to the plane, for example, Ricky, the one from Qatar to Trump, if that happened with Obama or Biden, I would have called him out. This is insane. And if we need to, there needs to be some kind of, you can't be hypocritical on the one end and say, well, Trump can't do anything wrong. I'm looking things going, man, I have questions. Like you said, it leads to speculation. Again, we're going to find out more as time goes on exactly what's going on. But right now, listen, I think of Gaza, Ricky. God gave Gaza to the people of Israel, the 12 tribes of Jacob. It's Israel's land. Now,
Yeah.
And ultimately, we know during the millennial kingdom, the tribe of Judah, we know from Zephaniah chapter 2, will inhabit the land of Gaza for pastures. Whether or not there's a Trump tower that goes there in the near future or not, during that day is coming when that will be gone. Like you said with Damascus, I love how you pointed it out when I read that. It's like, no, Damascus is going to be destroyed. Well,
I have no idea. Man, I don't think I'm special, but I have no idea how these guys don't know who Trump really is, and so many other people. Man, there are so many signs if you go and look for them, and you study the attributes of the Antichrist.
Let me ask you this, because there's so much here, but I'm curious your thoughts. This is from Luke chapter 12, and I'll read you the whole parable. I find it very intriguing. I believe it speaks to the last days. It begins in verse 35, and Jesus says, "Let your waist be girded and your lamps burning, and you yourselves be like men who wait for their master when he will return from the wedding, that when he comes and knocks, they may open to him immediately. Blessed are those servants whom the master, when he comes, will find watching. Assuredly, I say to you that he will gird himself and have them sit down to eat and will come and serve them." I believe Jesus is speaking about a reward for those who are watching for his return, right?
Absolutely.
And then in verse 38, "And if the master should come in the second watch or not come until the third watch and find them so watching, blessed are those servants." And here's the thing, hey, you thought he was going to come, he didn't come yet, but you're still persevere. Don't say, well, you guys got it all wrong. You know, you look, you go, wait a minute, Jesus you're still watching, you're still waiting. If he doesn't come until the third watch, then he says, this is most interesting. He says, but know this, that the master of the house, if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Again, this goes with watching and watching the prophetic word and not being deceived. And then he says this, therefore you also, verse 40 concludes this section, be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour when you do not expect. Ricky, I don't know exactly how that's going to pan out, but according to Jesus, something's going to cause people who maybe have looked up prophecy and been curious about it to let their guard down and be caught off guard, because he even says it'll come in an hour when you least expect it. I imagine the economy, it's a chance, the economy could be booming before the tribulation. We know when we get to the fourth horse of the apocalypse, the third horse of the apocalypse, the economy tanks. But it appears here something happens that make people think, oh, this is great what's going on. And I speculate we may be rapidly leaning up to that time, and with the don't give up in the third watch. I mean, that's how I see it. I'm curious as to your thoughts on that.
Well, in Luke 17, Jesus says,
This is interesting.
as it were in the days of Noah and Lot, so shall it be at the return of the Son of Man. And if you read in that text, he says, and they were eating and drinking and giving in marriage, they were building and reaping and sowing. Things were normal, per se, okay? And this gave a false sense of security. Like you said, it allowed people to let their guard down. And the Bible says, and they knew not until the day that the flood came, and they were all swept away.
If that's the way it's going to be, which the parable states, at one point in my journey, I'm like, the parable of like Lazarus and the great gulf, and the beggar. I wondered, are these true? Is there truth to what Jesus is saying? Or are they just simply parables and they're just lessons? But no, they are. And I think that Jesus Christ comes and raptures the church. Now, I'm not a pre-tribulation rapture believer. I'm a pre-wrath because I see the evidence. Excuse me. Because we're not destined to wrath, and wrath begins in seal 6. It says twice, it has begun. And if you look at the seals, from the first to the fifth, there's going to be some severe things that we're going to go through. So it makes me wonder how it coincides with this one, because apparently, and I believe this is probably going to be it, they were surprised because things were normal, like the days of Noah. People were buying homes. They were eating and drinking and going to bars and that type of thing. So, it makes me wonder, will the mark of the beast be implemented then? In any case, it's very interesting. This is part of the reason why I've picked this one.
The book of Jasher, some pronounce it Yasher. And by the way, that book is mentioned in two places in the Old.
I don't trust the book of Jasher or even Enoch. It's just, I'm not saying that there isn't a possibility but just a lot of evidence seems to be speaking against it. But I'll admit that it appears as scripture. It certainly does, and there's a lot of truth in there pointing to the Lord. But there's stuff too amazing for me to believe, and you believe what you want, right? It could be fully true, but there's a reason they took it out. I just wanted to say that.
Old Testament, and it talks about once the door of the ark was shut, there was 600,000, 700,000 men that was screaming and slamming on the ark, but the door had been shut. And it's interesting, Luke 17 says they knew not until the day. Then you go to the days of Lot. And in the days of Noah, they had they had over 100 years plus to prepare for an event that nobody had ever seen before. But in the days of Lot, they literally had 24 hours to prepare, where the angel showed up, said, hurry up and get out of here, for we can do nothing until you get out of this place. And they had to be positioned, they had to be taken from the cities of the plains to a place called Zoar before the judgment came. But here's interesting, going back to this, I've always found one of those scriptures, and we may get into this a little bit deeper, but James chapter 5, and who would ever thought James was a prophet? But if you read James chapter 5, in that passage, James talks about that there is coming in the last days, that there is coming this judgment upon the elites and the wealthy and those who are very rich. And it tells you about this. And it says, and this will come in the last days. And I found that interesting. It's in James chapter 5. It says it will come in the last days. So it appears to me that there is coming this great economic shaking that's going to, and we've already had that in the Great Depression, but I believe there's another one coming. But there's going to be a series of these shakings economically, politically, and whatnot. And I know you're probably familiar with this. The general consensus, a lot of people, and especially in the prophecy arena, they tend to have this notion that before the coming, one of the things that's going to trigger the coming of the Lord is going to be a nuclear war, or it's going to be an economic collapse, or it's going to be some great disasters. But there's nowhere in Scripture, think about this, nowhere in Scripture does it say that this is going to be a trigger event leading to the Lord. Now, it does say birth pangs, and they will intensify and increase. But when I read about
The one thing I disagree with that is that it is evident to me that in Revelation, more than a couple times, and also in the book of Zechariah, their tongues will be consumed in their mouths and their eye sockets, and a great mountain, coming from a torch from the sky, a torch, a nuclear weapon. Man, I don't know for sure, and they could be meteorological events. I don't know, but he's looking at me. It looks like he's convicting me. Just the look right there. Anyway, so yeah.
Bible, Jesus said, as it were in the days of Noah and Lot, so shall it be at the return of the Son of Man. It's going to be a normal day, Pastor Tom, just like this. The sun's shining, the birds are singing, you got money in your pocket, people are getting married. It's going to be a great day. And then the Lord's going to come. Again, why would the Lord give these parables telling us, beware, be watchful, be ready, for the Lord will come in a day and hour that you do.
So where's the mark of the beast in that then? Because that's very important, right? Which comes first?
Not expect. Now, real quick, I will say this though. There's going to be a shaking that's going to affect the world, disasters, the economy, but there's going to be a shaking within the body of Christ. And there's going to be, Paul said in 2 Thessalonians, if I had to point to a trigger event or a key event that is going to thrust us into the rapture of the church, it is the falling away. Paul said this has to come first, the apostasy of the falling away. And here's what's interesting, Pastor Tom. In Luke 19,
and then the Antichrist will be revealed. He's already revealed. You don't have to look very far. Sorry, just give me a sec. You don't have to look far. Someone's going to say it's going to get so much worse though. Man, are you not seeing what's happening? They're not even the church. That's not what they are. They're rock concerts. They're naked parades. They're the apostasy. There's more apostasy than people who are trying to be in Christianity and love God. It's horrible. Sorry, my rabbit's I'm just gonna take a little break here for a second.
You know this. There's a parable of the elderly woman and the unjust judge. She's going for the judge, pleading. If you read that in context, she pleads with the Lord to avenge her adversary, and the Bible says in there that even so the Lord shall avenge his elect speedily. And at the end of that passage, this always got me. At the end of that parable, it says, when the Lord comes, when he returns, will he find faith on the earth? And has that ever puzzled you? So that alludes to me, that tells me, okay, that's a prophetic picture here. So that tells me, Pastor Tom, that the climate of believers, because that whole passage is about believers, the believers, there's going to be such deception and apostasy in the earth when the Lord returns that the Lord even proposes a question. Will he find faith in the earth? So that tells me there's only going to be a remnant, Pastor.
That's here now.
There was 10 virgins, but there was only 5 that had oil.
But it will
in
get
their
much
lamps
worse. It
and
will.
Burning and ready for the
It's
bridegroom
horrible
to
right
return.
now.
Ricky, that was spot on.
People have no discernment.
I love how you put that together. I even think of it with the illustration Jesus gives with days of Noah and the days of Lot. Jesus easily could have said, there'll be lawlessness, there'll be perversions, there'll be this. He didn't choose to highlight that. He chose to highlight things are going to be looking good. Likewise, 1 Thessalonians 5, when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes. And we have the timing of the rapture all involved in there, but I look at it like, well, wait a minute. Scripture to me speaks of, look, things are going to start looking good. And will I find faith, he says? I've thought about that a lot and thought the exact same thing. The deception's going to be great. I have been concerned for quite some time now that the
deception, just when you don't think it could get worse, it does, right? I mean, this is what it's going to be like until the end. But, oh man, I think I lost my train of thought. I'm going to have to back up because it is important. Let's see what they say.
Political revival, I have been concerned the exact same thing. The deception's going to be great. I have been concerned for quite some.
We know what's being said right now, and we don't know a time frame around it, but it's got to be pretty soon. I'm not pre-tribber, like I said, but still there's a prophecy there when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction will come upon them, right? But you are not in darkness, that this day should overtake you as a thief. So, in a non-pre-trib view, what does that mean? What does that mean? I mean, it almost fits the pre-trib one better, right? But I just think it's a warning that we are prepared more than anyone else psychologically and spiritually. I don't know. But I see two really big wars. Ukraine, they have to stop. You could argue that these are world wars. Because what is a world war? What does that represent? What does it represent? No, just kidding. It represents people who are participating on all continents. And is that not happening? So you look at World War II. Was Canada and the US, were they fighting in Canada? No, but it was still World War II. We're in World War III. It's just very strange. It's a technological war. I don't know what's going to happen then, but like, it could happen with either one, Israel or... They're saying it around both of them, right? We want peace and security. You're not only hearing it from Trump, you're hearing it from a lot of other people. And we're getting to that point where it appears possible. So therein, we are prepared. We are not in darkness. We are not in darkness because we know that something will happen. So when that happens, you and I can look up. I don't know what's going to happen. Nuclear bomb? I don't know.
Some time now that a political revival will come to the land and the Western world.
Look at India and Pakistan.
That causes people to think it's a spiritual revival when it is not. And you know, are we in that? I want to be careful that I don't say too much, read too much into what we're witnessing. But friends, we're living in exciting times. Ricky, let me ask you this. If the U.S. were to push for the division of Israel, we know eventually that day's coming. We can tell. But what biblical consequences do you believe could follow with the U.S.?
Oh, goodness. Well, look at history. Look at every nation that's ever come against Israel to try to destroy it, annihilate it, you know, whatever the case may be. Some of these nations don't even exist anymore. They've been completely annihilated. They've been completely wiped out, left in rubble. Now, if you want to take this angle at it, there is a book, and forgive me if I don't remember his name. His name was Bill. I know that Bill starts with a K. Maybe you know this. But anyway, he put a whole... Yes, thank you. He did a lot of research on this and proves to you unequivocally that every world leader, whether it be in the U.S., Britain, whatever the case may be, every leader that even went to the table and proposed to divide Israel for peace or peace for land, within 24 to 72 hours, some type of major disaster came on the shores of that country. We've had this happen.
I studied that. I looked and I read a whole bunch of different articles. You can look for them. Just type up on Google what happens to countries that try to partition the land of Israel or talk against Israel in like, you know, when they're trying to push themselves on the country to make a new law or something like that. The weather attacks that country, and I think it's pretty evident. You got to look at the evidence before you decide. But whatever way you look at it, it's God's land, right? And He gave it to Abraham. I know there was something else I was gonna say, but
To America. If you remember, I'm gonna quiz some of your audience here. Y'all remember back in 2011, when Barack Obama was president of the United States of America, and he got up on national television and he proposed that Israel go back to the pre-67 borders, which means they would give up all of East Jerusalem, which is the Wailing Wall, the Holy Sepulchre, all that would get. And I remember, Pastor, when he got up and said that on the television, I had a chill go all the way down my spine. I told everybody in my network of friends. I even went out we did a podcast on this, and I said, "You watch, something major is coming." And I promise you guys, y'all can research it and look it up. Within 3 days, I don't even think it was 3 days. I think it was within 24 hours, 48 hours. A EF5 tornado ripped through the heartland of America called Joplin, Missouri, and it caused historic damage, pretty much wiped Joplin out. And this happened right in that same time frame. And in 2005, this is coming to my mind too. Do you remember when this was under the Bush administration, I believe. And I believe it was Condoleezza Rice. Was that her name?
Yep, that was Condoleezza Rice. I remember it well.
Yeah, they were proposing to pull all those Israelites out of the West Bank and resettle them somewhere else. Within 24 hours, what happened? Hurricane Katrina happened, and it was one of the most devastating hurricanes and disasters in U.S. history. And you could go and you could pull all these parallels up, and it is stunning.
You should go look at them. And there's one that happened with Justin Trudeau, right? And like so many happened to the U.S., obviously, but whoever speaks out, it's going to be their country. There had been there was a hurricane. It was heading towards the U.S. and its trajectory was going in an obvious direction. And I believe it was Joe Biden or so. Don't take me for this, but I know this is mostly right. Someone in the U.S., the president or vice president, said something about Israel, and it wasn't good. And Justin Trudeau went on X or whatever it is and said, like, good job, put his thumb up like that. And then the hurricane changed course, went up and went into Nova Scotia, and we had our biggest and most damage, I believe, hurricane. Like, it completely turned. I do believe these things.
So to answer your question, the thing I'm concerned about, Pastor, is Zechariah says that those who try to come, he says Jerusalem become a cup of drunkenness, and those who try to heave it away shall be broken pieces. There is now you guys you have the San Andreas fault, the Cascadian fault, on the West Coast.
I give this challenge to people who are like, we're not supposed to focus on Israel. And listen, I don't. But I know there's things going on there. I hope for the people of Israel. I hope for just peace, okay? And I'm out of those types of debates and arguments anymore. But I implore you, go read Zechariah 12 and 13. And then you'll realize that God is going to He's going to suddenly speak. He's going to wake up. The lion's going to wake up out of its cave, and it's going to come out. Prayer and supplication over the house of, Judah and Jerusalem. And in that day, David shall be like God, and just like, the governors in the frying. Go read Zechariah 12, and you'll understand that God is going to have forgiveness in that area. Although 2/3 of all of the Jewish nation will be destroyed and killed, 1/3 survives. So just know that. It's very sobering, but
whatnot, the Hayward fault, I believe it is. Where I live, right a little bit north of us, we live on a major fault line in the heartland of America called the New Madrid Fault. And there has been,
New
I believe,
Madrid.
real legitimate men of God who have warned about that if America ever positioned himself to try to divide Israel, then God himself could potentially literally divide America. And if they, and seismologists and geologists have warned that it's not a matter of if, but when. If this thing blows like it did in 1811, 1812, it could literally cause a separation of our nation. And that is
The arm of the Lord is not too short, sir. If I don't know, man, trying to control this thing, I'm like eating in it sometimes. I think the man of God he's talking about is uh, that apostate guy. What's his name? Last Days Ministry. Man. Because I heard him say in one of his false prophecies that he saw that the division would be so big from the New Madrid earthquake that it would literally, like whatever, need a bridge or something like that, or I don't know. It would be so wide. And the Turkish earthquake, sorry, my rabbit's like, just give me a second. He's trying to bite through this. Give me a sec. Yeah, so is the arm of the Lord too short to do any of those things? The Lord could make, excuse me, I have abdominal disorders, pardon me. The Lord could make the universe a million times, but the New Madrid fall, it would just be a massive earthquake. That's what it would be.
I'm concerned about. And that's why I'm always worried about that, no matter who the president is.
Yeah, and you know what? The reality of it is, we could be here to witness these things. Depending on when the rapture takes place, we don't know when it's going to take place, but we could. I think of the shaking. Bill Koenig. By the way, we have Bill's book. It's available at the website Hope for Our Times in the store. You can check that out where he documents that. He has a new book coming out where he talks.
So that's what I wanted to show you guys. Then everyone starts talking about their books and bookstores, and I love my brothers, but I'm just each to their own. You know what? I'm in university, and I'm also, I'm not employed as in I'm employed at a place making money, but I'm there working, and but I also work too. I'm in, and I'm going to. This is starting on Friday. PSW school, personal support worker, and even in all of this busyness, like I didn't want to stop my life, I didn't want to do that because I did that for a year. And because I did that, I could have been getting close to going into my third year of university if I would, but whatever, right? Nothing is more important in my life than Jesus Christ. I don't care about what I own, what I have, where I am, what my status is. I wish I had an invisible status. You know what I mean? So we're in such a crazy time. Don't get caught up in the propaganda. Just follow Jesus. Follow pure stuff. And I think you'll be doing pretty good, Develop a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, not out of fear, but out of a pure heart. Remember what Jesus says. Those with the pure heart will see God. And if you don't feel like you know God, here's my opinion on what you should do. Get on your knees, genuinely, and ask him, why don't I feel like I know you? It's those types of actions that can help you get closer to God, because those who search for God will find God, I believe, if they're genuinely searching. And so, I never thought that in my wildest dreams that God would put me in the position that I'm in to even be speaking on this camera. Like, I wish you guys could see it from my side. I can't wait to see every single person, every single brother. And as I said, will Jesus find faithful people on the earth? I think he might be surprised at all the people you watch on videos and see in person, that maybe those people aren't even saved. And how big is the remnant going to be, right? Those things always interest me. Just out of curiosity, I type up, how many born-again Christians are there in the world? As if, Google or ChatGPT knows the answer. Whatever it is, 2 billion people call themselves Christian, but they're not. A Christian is someone who believes in Jesus Christ, loves Jesus Christ. So, guys, God bless every single one of you.